To wrap up this month's series of animal encounters, we are going to be doing some yoga poses around the zoo that have been inspired by some of the animals that we have here. Yoga is a great activity that you can do in the comfort of your own home. All you need is a small amount of space on the floor, and if you have a mat, that will help you to not slide around. If you don't have a mat, though, you can use a beach towel. So this first pose we're doing is rabbit pose. Rabbit pose in Sanskrit is called Sasangasana. So the way you'll start is sitting on the floor, on your knees, and then tipping forward, letting your head fall down to the mat. So the crown of the head is resting on the floor, and then you can do a couple different arm variations. You can lift your hands up overhead with the fingers interlaced, or you can lay them alongside the body, along the legs. This next pose we're doing is called cat pose. So we have one of our cats here behind us, our African lion. In cat pose, you're going to start the same way we start in cow pose, on our hands and knees, making sure that our fingers are spread nice and wide. You can keep the toes tucked or flipped down. Either variation is fine. From tabletop position, we're going to lift our rib cage up towards the sky and look back at our belly button. As you do that, the hips might come down a little bit. So we're creating a nice rounded spine here, stretching out the spine, the shoulders, maybe shifting a little bit from side to side, and then finally coming back down into tabletop position. Like we did on cow pose, you're welcome to switch between cat and cow by switching the gaze forward or looking back at your belly button, lifting the rib cage up and down. This next pose we're doing is called cow pose or Bhujangasana. You'll start on your hands and knees, making sure the wrists are directly underneath the shoulders and that the knees are directly underneath the hips. You're going to gaze forward and let your rib cage fall down towards the mat. As you do that, the hips come up, creating a nice bend in the back. From cow pose, a lot of people like to go into cat pose, which we'll take you through later. And it's simply doing the opposite of cow, dropping the hips, raising the rib cage, and gazing down. This next pose we're going to do is called downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Shvanasana. Here behind us we have our wild African dogs. So starting from our tabletop position, hands and knees on the ground, we're going to slowly lift the knees off of the mat and bring our sit bones up towards the sky and back towards the heels. As you do that, you're going to create a kind of like an upside down V with your body, making sure the fingers are spread nice and wide here. And the heels of the feet do not have to come down to the mat. They can be lifted. And you're also welcome to pedal out the legs, getting a nice stretch on each leg. You're also welcome to rotate the head side to side, shake your head yes, shake your head no, just to release any extra tension you might have in your neck. Make sure while you're in this pose that you continue breathing. And then to come out of the pose, you're going to look towards your hands and walk or step your feet towards your hands in a nice forward fold position. And then slowly roll the spine up one vertebrae at a time to standing. This next pose is called tree pose, Vrksasana, but we also call it flamingo pose because it resembles a flamingo standing on one leg. You'll start standing in mountain pose, and then you'll slowly shift your weight off to one leg. So as your other foot becomes nice and light, you're going to bring the sole of the left foot to the inside of the right leg. You can also slide it up the leg to the thigh, or leave it down on the shin. Once you have the standing foundation, you're welcome to take any arm variation that you like. You can have hands at heart center, you can have them up overhead, or in a T. In order to help you stay balanced in these balancing poses, you can find a focal point that's not moving off in the distance. So now we'll move on to the other side. So now we're shifting our weight off to the left leg, letting the right foot become nice and light, so light that you can slide the heel to the left ankle. And then when you're ready, you can begin to drag the sole of the foot up the leg, wherever you'd like, making sure you're not pressing on the knee. Hands, again, can come in any variation that you like. They can be up overhead or at a T. Make sure when you're in these balancing poses that you continue breathing. And then to come out of the pose, you simply just bring that right foot back down to the mat to meet the left. This next pose is called Cobra pose, or Bhujangasana. Here we have our Masasagwa snakes behind us in the learning center. We're going to come down onto our mats, laying on our bellies. We're going to slide the hands underneath the rib cage right next to our chest and slowly lift the shoulders and the head off of the mat, keeping the elbows nice and bent here. And then we'll come back down. And then this time, if you'd like, you can come back up, except also straighten our arms. This will increase the bend in the lower back. If you feel any tightness in the lower back or pinching, then keep the elbows bent. This is a back bending pose, so it's good for opening up the chest. You can come out of it and come back into it again. But we don't want to hold back bends for a very long time, so make sure you're not holding this for more than 30 seconds. This next pose we're doing is called frog pose, or Bhekasana. Here we're in front of our poison dart frogs. So we're going to come to lay down on our mats, belly on the floor, and then we're going to bend our knees and bring our heels towards our sit bones. And then we're going to reach behind with our hands, grabbing the right foot with our right hand and the left foot with our left hand. Holding on to the toes or the ankles, we're going to lift our head up off the mat and our shoulders. Continue breathing here. There's always a tendency to hold our breath when we do back bends. You can come back down and come back into it. To come out of the pose, we're just going to let go of each foot, bringing our hands back to the mat, pressing ourselves up back into a seated position.